Welcome to the Fearful Fright series, where we will be reading with our favorite green ghoul, Grimmer. Now sit back and enjoy this twisted tale. Today our story is called Toe Jam. Hello there, my name's Greg Patterson, and I have to tell you about my crazy vacation last summer. It all started when my dad, who used to love trivia, so he went on a game show to test out his skills in trivia. And wouldn't you know it, he actually won. The price was an all-paid expense trip to a new island resort. It was located somewhere off the coast of India. It was a brand new resort they just built. They even renamed the island and everything. Toe Jam, though it was an odd name for an island. I just hoped the island didn't smell like feet. But little did I know, that would be the least of my worries on this all-expense-paid trip. So the trivia show my dad won gave him 4 tickets. But there was only me, my mom and my dad. So my father has decided to invite his brother, my uncle Bucky. Bucky was a little silly, always seeming to tell jokes at the wrong time. That's why my mother was a little hesitant about my father's decision to invite him. But reluctantly, she gave in. Oh, I guess she said, just tell him to keep his jokes to himself this time. My mother was still mad about the joke Uncle Bucky told at their wedding. Let's just say the inappropriate joke involved a mailman and some farm animals. And leave it at that. But I actually thought my uncle was funny. My father too, on the rare occasion my mom lets him be. Well, the day came, and it was time to catch the plane. To tell you the truth, I'm afraid of heights. But other than a little turbulence, everything was fine. And honestly, the flight was the least scariest thing about this vacation. It seemed like the trip took forever. But eventually we made it. As we left the plane and grabbed our things. And wouldn't you know it, my uncle was already trying to play a joke on one of the poor unsuspecting resort workers. He said, "Pull my finger." And unfortunately the man working at the resort did. My uncle Bucky proceeded to let out the loudest fart you've ever heard. "Sorry about that, just flew in," he said. Both of my parents' face turned bright red. Then my dad proceeded to escort my uncle to the resort entrance, reminding him to be on his best behavior during our stay on Toe Jam Island. Yeah, I know, my uncle told my father. As we soon arrived at the resort entrance, I noticed the resort's name. The name of the resort was called Toe Jam Resort. Me and my mother kinda looked at each other and chuckled. What a silly name, she said. We got to the front desk and there was a man checking people in. Hello, my father said. I'm the contestant winner from the TV show Trivia Creeps. Oh yes, said the man. Right this way. He led us to our rooms. My mother and father would be sleeping in one room, and me and my uncle in the other. I honestly didn't mind. I knew my uncle would keep me up all night telling me all kinds of silly jokes. The first day we got there, it was too late to do anything really. And we were so exhausted from the trip that we decided to call it a night. We had got the room service to get us 2 large pepperoni pizzas and some bread sticks. And some cola. After we ate, me and my uncle headed back to our room. Don't tell me you're gonna fall asleep on me, Greg. We still got a whole night of fun. Hey, we could tell jokes, or we could prank the staff. You just name it. What do you wanna do? My uncle Bucky protested. I want to get some sleep. I told him, I'm exhausted and so are you. Rather you know it or not. Besides, my parents would kill me if I get caught playing pranks on these innocent people with you. I told my uncle, laughing. Besides, I want to see what kind of movies they have on tonight. I said. So we went back to our room and flipped through the channels. Nothing, of course, my uncle Bucky said. You go halfway around the world, and still there's nothing to watch. I wonder if they got a deck of cards in here, said my uncle. They usually do. As he began rummaging through the drawers, he came across a folded up piece of paper. Look at this, my uncle said, laughing. I bet you anything someone left an old love letter behind. What do you say we read it, he asked. Okay, I said, but leave out the mushy stuff. My uncle unfolded the paper, cleared his throat, and began to read in a girl-like voice. This is very important. Please take what I am going to tell you seriously. We have all been tricked. My uncle stopped making the mockingly girl-like voice and started looking at the letter a little more seriously. He continued, they used the game shows as a trap to trick us into coming here. I've explored the west side of the island. Under some canopy, there is a hole leading to underground cells. I found that they have been keeping people down there. I saw 3 of the resort workers dragging a man down the tunnel. The man was screaming, "Let me go. Don't feed me to those things." I don't know what they plan on doing with him. Or me for that matter. But I do know everyone I came to the island with has disappeared. I am the only one left. If something happens to me, give this to the proper authorities. Angela Wright, 2022. Both me and my uncle's eyes got wide. As we stared at each other, he asked me, "Didn't they say this resort just opened?" "Yeah," I replied, "I think so. That's what was advertised." "Well, this note's been here for 3 years. And it's saying some weird things on this paper. Let's just lock the door for the night," my uncle said, "and we will try to explain it to your parents in the morning. And see what we should do." After that note, I was pretty scared. I stayed up most of the night, barely getting any sleep. My uncle managed to stay up all night, reading the note over and over, looking more confused each time. The next morning, my uncle woke me up and said, "Hey, let's go get your parents, and let them read the letter." As we entered the hall, we noticed 3 resort workers putting fresh sheets on the beds in our parents' room. My mother and father were nowhere in sight. "Excuse me," I asked. "Have you seen my mother and father?" "I believe they are outside admiring the garden," one of the resort workers replied. "Thank you," I said, and me and my uncle Bucky headed outside to find them. When we located my parents, my uncle Bucky showed them the letter. My father just looked at my uncle Bucky in disbelief. "Nice joke," my father said. "I thought we already talked about this." My uncle tried to explain to them that we had found it in one of the drawers in our room. But they wouldn't listen. "Knock it off," they told him. "You're supposed to be setting a good example for Greg." Then they proceeded to return to the resort. "Now what?" I asked my uncle. "Well, if they don't believe us, I think we should go have a little look for ourselves, to see if there's any truth to this note." I was hesitant to go with him at first. But I couldn't let him go out there all by himself, knowing what we know from the note. So I set off with my uncle to the west side of the island. When we got there, we could hear shuffling around in the bushes. "What's that?" I thought. "Do you think we were followed by one of the resort workers?" I asked my uncle. "I don't know, but stay low," he replied. As we hid in some nearby vegetation, I could hear that whatever was out there seemed to be getting closer. And in larger numbers too. Just then, blue-skinned people with wild-looking eyes popped out of the bushes. And get this, these things only had 1 leg. Every last one of them. Me and my uncle couldn't believe our eyes. "Are you seeing this?" my uncle asked. "Yes, but I can't believe it," I told him. As we watched, they seemed to go behind some leaves and into what looked like to be a hole. Soon we heard screams coming from the hole. "No, please no, not again." Me and my uncle both got scared. When these things weren't looking, we hightailed it back to the resort. Ran through the front door of the resort and straight to my parents' room. "All right, listen," my uncle Bucky told my parents. "I know you don't believe me. I know I always joke too much, but I need you to listen. This place is not a resort, this is a trap. I don't know what's out there. But they're blue and they have 1 leg, and they're eating people that are hidden in tunnels underneath this resort. We need to go now," he yelled. Just then one of the resort workers knocked on my parents' door. "Is everything all right in there?" the resort worker asked. Yes. Thank you," my father said. Then my father turned his attention back to my uncle. He could see the fear in my uncle's face, along with mine, and said, "You know something? I haven't seen anyone else since yesterday. Only the resort workers." As we all stared out the window, looking for any other people at the resort besides the workers, we noticed something moving in the bushes. "There!" my Uncle Bucky yelled. "Right there!" My father and mother looked a little closer at the bushes. Then they seen it. "What is that thing?" my mother yelled. "Everyone grab your things, we're leaving now," said my father. We all rushed to grab our things and ran to the lobby. The man that checked us in the resort was waiting in the middle of the lobby. "Leaving so soon?" he said with a smile. My Uncle Bucky wasted no time tackling the man to the ground. "Let's get out of here," my uncle yelled. When we got outside, we noticed they had a motor boat that had been parked at the dock. "Let's go, we'll take the boat," my mother said. As we ran to the boat and jumped in, we noticed some of the resort workers were racing to the docks, followed by those one-legged monsters. "Let's go," my mother started yelling. "Start this thing up." "I'm trying," my dad said. After 2 or 3 times trying, my father finally got it going, and we took off as fast as we could. When we looked back, we could see the resort workers had stopped running towards the docks. The one-legged monsters seemed to be going back into the bushes. And that's when we noticed it. Another plane dropping off a group of more unsuspecting passengers, waiting to be turned into a meal for these blue, one-legged man-eating monsters.